Hello and welcome everybody to our Friday Community Action with the Million Mom Movement. Today's presentation is about autism and gut health, understanding the nutritional needs and benefits. And today I'm joined by my incredible council member, Dominique Jeffries, as well as our council members that are here to support the autism awareness, Tirza Dawn and Anna Marie Sandoval, who are specialists in this area and are going to be sharing more information with us about how to navigate through the holidays and also address gut health. But before we get started, we have a special guest. Cornelia Sandoval is going to help us read the pledge today. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it up so that she can read it with her mama.
Okay, here we go. I pledge to defend the health of myself and my family. I pledge to choose organic foods that are minimally processed and free of man-made ingredients. I pledge to read labels and educate myself on all aspects of clean living. I understand that my actions today will positively impact the health and environment of future generations. I am committed to sharing this movement of many. I am the Million Mom Movement.
Oh, thank you so
Great
much.
job, Neela. High five. You did it, babe. Okay, Nini, you want to go play at the creek? You are free to go. Thank you, honey, for doing that with me.
That was amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Anna Marie, tell us what this movement means to you. I know you're super passionate about this, and after reading the pledge, share a little bit with us about how that lands for you in your heart.
Oh, yeah. Well, it means a lot to me in my heart. Means a lot for our personal family, for our girls' health. There's nothing more important to Dave and I than the health and happiness of our girls, and really to be happy in our bodies is one of the greatest gifts that we can give our children, to be happy in our own bodies, and so that they are in joy and free to feel their highest good in their bodies. And it's been a big priority for me in helping to share about an organic lifestyle for bodies with autism as well, because their bodies are already having to overcome so many different challenges, and to add in glyphosate, bombarding them doesn't make it any easier, and it actually contributes so much to what's going on for them. So feels really, really important in my devotion to the autistic community to make sure that we can, get rid of this poison.
Absolutely. I love your passion around it. And it's something that we're all super passionate about. And here at the Million Mom Movement, this foundation of this movement really started because we are 1,000 people from 100 different communities committing to spread health and well-being and an economic opportunity around organic superfood nutrition with at least 10 families each. That's the mission of the Million Mom Movement. And with each and every one of you as part of this movement, we are going to reach 1 million strong. And so without further ado, I'd love to pass it over to Anna Marie and Tirza to share your expertise and knowledge, introduce yourself, and share with us how we can better support our gut health of our autistic community family members, and how we can really support the families as well, the caregivers, because we know how important it is to take care of ourselves first, put our own oxygen mask on first so that we can better show up for those that really need us. You're muted, Anne Marie. Take it away.
Well, thank you so much for that, for the very warm welcome, and for leading us all here on this call today. And yeah, hello, I'm Anna Marie Sandoval, and I've been blessed to get to uh, work developmentally with a lot of children on the spectrum for over a decade, and in my more recent years have been doing a lot more learning and educating myself on adults experiencing autism and neurodivergency and the spectrum of what that means for so many different individuals. And um, something we always like to share, and it's I think important to share, is that meeting one person who is neurodivergent is only meeting one person, because we're all so extremely unique. And that's the beauty of it. And it's also can be a little bit tricky to find, all the different paths that create ease for individuals who are neurodivergent, because we're all unique and there's no guidebook exactly to say, here's how to do this. But in my experience, one of the things that I noticed the most that brought a lot of challenges to bodies with autism was the sensory stimulation in their environments, and their difficulties to have to filter everything and find center in their body through so many different sensory experiences of all the different elements, visually, audibly, tactile. So there's so much going on. But what I wanted to talk about today was all the different ways that we could actually support our children on the spectrum during a very stimulated holiday season, and also support, as Naiba was saying, caregivers and parents, or just any being who is neurodivergent, getting through the holidays. I don't mean getting through, they're a beautiful time, but if you struggle to process all the different stuff coming at you at once during the holidays, it can be a little bit challenging to, attend some of the big parties and fun things that everybody wants to be a part of, even if it might mean feeling uncomfortable in their bodies a bit. So one of the ways that we can really help on a starting point before we even get to these kinds of parties, right, is same for anybody, but really making sure we are having a balanced diet and super nutrition in us, so that our bodies can really process what's going on and be able to receive all signals in a flowing way, instead of, not just for neurodivergent, but for anybody. It's really hard to access our power if we are inundated with sugar and glyphosate and chemicals from processed foods that a lot of people tend to bring at parties. Or if we don't have any of the nutrients that we need to be really showing up for ourselves and showing up in social occasions. So one of the best things that we can do is making sure that we have, a green shake, a power shake, or some of our different products in us to make sure we're fully nutritionized before we go somewhere, so that it's everything can really just start off on a good foot from there. Naiva, you're looking a little bit confused. Am I catching your face, or am I doing something wrong? I'm just checking in because I'm not used to
I'm
being on these Zooms.
multitasking, sorry.
Okay, awesome. So the part of having something in us is not just a power shake, but one of the biggest tools that I've been really loving, that is a product that we could really access a superpower with, is the In Focus. Before going to something, going to visit Santa, going to go see Christmas lights, going to a cookie baking party, perhaps. There's all kinds of fun things that our kids are invited to, or that we're invited to. as parents or just as adults. Um, and being able to have this, I don't have the product on me, but it's a little tiny tincture. Having In Focus has been like putting a little superhero in our body already. And I notice a big difference in my daughter, Cornelia, who just did the pledge with us. Before we go on long car driving trips, for us, we live in that country life, and it takes us at least like 45 minutes to get to any of our fun Christmas festivities. So just managing the car drive to get to some of the fun things is a stimulation point and something that can be adding into our sensory system. So the In Focus has been a really big help for us to support us before we even go into overstimulating areas. That the In Focus really sets us up for a lot of cool, calm collectedness. And mommy's been taking it too. I notice it really eases my getting out the door. I know that I get easily overstimulated when I'm trying to get the girls out the door, and I know that we're going to something that's fun and big energy. I seem to wear that energy before I even get there. So I know In Focus has really helped me to keep in my calm, cool, collected presence. And it's something that you can also give. It doesn't have to be just before you leave, but this is a tool that if you are um, having a, a overstimulating time during an event or during something that you're at, you can also lean on In Focus, and it can bring some soothing to the nerves and a greater focus to presence. Um, and I also, for adults with autism or neurodivergence, however feels a better word of description, I think that the super aminos are a really good source of staying away from being having tendencies to go into the sugar foods, or if you have an adolescent, because we don't usually recommend aminos to kids under 12, but adolescents and adults, I really recommend the aminos because it's a really quick source of protein. And if we're lacking protein is when the body is going to start craving those sugars and really saying, oh yes, I really want those cookies. Whereas if we have taken a couple aminos, taken our not a couple, but 5 aminos, and taken some of the In Focus, we're already, even just in that, setting ourselves up for a solid no cravings and a little bit more of being able to have that space to be present, and a little bit of a shield, have you will, to filter all the things coming in at us when we go to an overstimulating party. Um, and one of the things I wanted to describe, as I keep saying all these different stimulations and stuff, wanting to describe what some of those things may be. So we're, as adults, really kind of used to all of the Christmas excitement and lights and action and merry and cheery. But for a lot of our children on the spectrum, that can be a lot to process and take in. And so some of the things that can be triggering and causing this overstimulation that we might not see as a overstimulation, we see it as fun, can be bright flashing lights. Christmas music is really great, but after a certain point, sometimes it can hit the nervous system in a way that the child is still like, yay, I'm cheering, I'm having fun. But it can hit a certain point in our nervous system where it actually starts to become overstimulating. And I know that a lot of times, me personally, I'm like, hey, let's do cookies. Let's make sure there's Christmas music playing in the background. Let's make sure we're playing this other little activity. And I want to get like all into all these different festivity thingies that, but it can be too much for a kiddo who is neurodivergent, to have to filter out the smell of the oven preheating and the smell of the vanilla that's going in, and all the different textures that feel good, but there's a lot of different textures, and then there's mom talking and giving directions, and then maybe there's the dog in the background, and then you got Christmas carols, and kids can just be like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. So sometimes we just have to be aware of what we think might be a typical adding to the cheer. But we can only handle sometimes so many different sensory inputs. So trying to be aware of how long and how loud we're playing Christmas musics, and how much vibe, like light input is coming into a child's arena at one point. And also another area that can cause a lot of different stimulation. When you go to different parties and there's all of the different food buffets and things like that. And just even the visual of having a lot of food in one place can be really overwhelming for a child, and make them resistant to want to eat the things that you maybe want them to eat, because it's just all so visually overwhelming. So if you're going to a Christmas gathering, or excuse me, a holiday gathering this season, and you're hoping that your child is going, maybe you're at a family gathering and everybody's having dinner. There's a lot of different scents going on for your child too with the food, all those different scents from each food combining together. Maybe grandma or auntie is standing next to them serving them, and they have a really strong perfume on, or they just washed their hair. They have some great hairspray in. That's another scent coming in at them. And so when all of these different scents, as well as visuals on the table, are coming in, it might cause a resistance to be open to eating any of those things. So I would recommend bringing a small plate of food to your child. Don't have them come to the full table. Bring a small plate of food to your child, and try to make the plate itself. Even if they're a big eater, give just a little bit of each at a time, and maybe only put a couple things on the plate at a time. And then once they have completed those, then you can offer maybe the other things that they liked. So if there's not as much visually and scent wise coming in at them, they might be more keen to eating the foods that are available to them. I know that a lot of struggles can be, we get to the family gathering where there's supposed to be a meal that we're all going to eat, but then our kids end up not eating it because they don't like it. And then we have a pretty hard crash when we're getting into just like the heart of our family gathering, because sugar levels have gone low, and stimulation has gone high, and suddenly it's a big kaboom. So another way is always, of course, bringing your power shake. And a lot of times for our daughter, she has a lot of different sensory rigidities going on for her. And if she's in a certain place energetically, it can be really tricky for me to get her to eat, whether we're at home or out at a gathering. And I feel super grateful that we have the power shake or any one of our protein shakes to lean on. Actually, just right now, before we were doing the pledge, she was all like, no, I'm not doing the pledge. I don't want to. And I was like, hey, girlfriend, when was the last time you ate? And she's like, I don't want anything to eat. I'm not hungry. And I said, okay, that's fine. But what about one of your pink Purium shakes? I know that something in your body would probably feel really good. She was not down for the greens because she was in a mood, but because pink is her favorite color, I, was able to offer her some of our dark berry protein, and she got some of that in her body, and everything kind of totally started shifting. She was suddenly, oh, maybe I could do the pledge. I guess, Mama, that sounds kind of fun, and so sometimes if we can't get food in, it's always really good to have one of our protein shakes on hand. And as parents, we all know that sometimes we have to, create a little bit of inner motivation. And, with the holiday season, actually, we can use it to our advantage. creating different um, play play kind of with our shakes, right? So with the green one, I'll tell Neela it's like we're drinking Christmas tree green shake, or we are not too watching the Grinch yet or anything like that, but I know that that's a popular one for a lot of families. So could have fun being drinking your green Grinch drink, things like that. Sometimes with our pink dark berry, we'll pretend that it's like pink snow, different kinds of fun things that you could just, get their mind off of what you're trying to accomplish, what your agenda is, and get on their agenda and get them to hop on board with it being their agenda of why they're going to want to drink that drink. And I'm sorry, I think it looks like I'm really not a experienced Zoomer, but I don't know if there was a question down there. If anybody wants to help me out reading questions, and then I could try to answer them. I have trouble focusing myself, so it's really difficult for me to read and write and talk.
Hey, hey, Anna Marie, it's Tirza. I raised my hand. It's me.
Hey.
Hey, you guys, sorry, I'm with you all. I'm just dealing with some car issues this morning, so I'm going to stay off screen because I'm in kind of random locations, but I'm really glad to be here and really happy to be covering this topic. And I want to say everything Anna Marie just said is just, there's so much wisdom in all of that and so much goodness in your take on things. And especially with having the experience with Neela, what you're sharing this morning, it's so good to pay attention to our kiddos, and they can really lead us in good ways. I wanted to add to the conversation around the oversensory with our kids on the spectrum during the holidays. You were talking about how sometimes, we'll go to dinners and our kids won't want to eat anything because they don't like it, and then they have crashes, right? So really good reason to have some power shake on you. But also, I just wanted to chime in there and say, one of the things that's helped us over the years with my son, he's older now, but he's considered severely autistic, and we had a family who really did understand the dietary needs he had, like not having gluten, not having dairy, not having sugar. And so thankfully, my mom and others would often try to have something extra for him or special for him on the side. But I wanted to say one of the best things we learned is to go prepared to places, because most of our kids on spectrum cannot eat the holiday feast. Like most holiday feasts incorporate gluten, they incorporate dairy, they incorporate sugar, and it's really hard. And so if you prepare beforehand and can bring some of their favorite things, or maybe some things that are similar to what are being served on the holiday table, like for example, gluten-free rolls instead of the rolls that are going to be served, or maybe you make a special pie that doesn't have sugar in it and uses monk fruit or maple or something like that. Or I think most of us on here probably have a little bit of knowledge around this. There's a lot online you can look for. But I just wanted to say that little tidbit can help a lot. Just show up with your own feast for your child so they can be included. The second thing I wanted to say is that around the table thing, Anna Marie talked a lot about, Aunt so and so might have hairspray on, or there might be all these different smells from the kitchen, and all of that oversensory thing that can happen. We really experimented with my son where we wanted him at the table with us in a big group, and often for years we would have him sit with us. But there did come a time when he needed a little space. And so at those times, sometimes we would set up a little side table for him so that he could still be near us, but not necessarily in the chaos of the big table. And I just wanted to say sometimes it's okay to experiment with things like that, because of course we want to be all together, but sometimes our kiddos need a little bit of space. And the other thing we did with him too is we would have a room. My mom, for example, would have like, they had a little side room that was kind of like an office, but it was a cozy little room. And we set it up for him so that at any time during the festivities, if he just needed to be quiet, or he just needed to, you know, do his stim on his own, he had that space. And I know not everybody necessarily has a whole room separate that's possible for that, but most people will have maybe some bedroom, and you could make like a little tent area in the corner, or you could just set it up special for that child, so they get a sense of a safe space, that they don't necessarily have to be in the midst of um, the celebrations, which are beautiful but can also be overstimulating. So that's all. Just wanted to add those 2 cents.
Absolutely. Those are super, super, like really, really big ones. The food preparation, especially, through tricky car rides and as long as you have like their special foods, that some feel anybody feel really secure and can eliminate so many different difficulties. So the food preparation, such a huge one. Thank you, Tirza, for bringing that up, and an absolute big yes to maybe having a separate table, and could be closer, it can be close still to the table, but having one that is less stimulating, you could just put their plate on maybe a single little just their cup, and so it's not so much to have to see and take in, and but they can still be a part of everything. And also that room idea is really great. And even if you can't put a table, one of the suggestions I was gonna bring too is if you have maybe your own little kind of little lap kind of seats sometimes, and things too, that can be tricky depending on the movement and stuff of a child, but sometimes being able to take a little heavy weighted like stuffed animal or heavy weighted blanket or something like that to be able to put on the lap of a child who has a lot of stimulation coming in, or is feeling very nervous or has a lot going on for them. Having something weighted to even just put on their lap if you don't have a space where you can create another table or another room, sometimes some heavy weighted items just to give their body back to center and feel their body again, while needing to be at a table, or just different little things for their different there's been a really big, I feel like almost like explosion of fidget toys and sensory kind of objects that you can find online now or in different stores for kiddos, that if they must be at a table, that they can, kind of have a little something to occupy their energy instead of needing to touch things on the table. But I really encourage everybody to speak to your family before, if you can, and just bring awareness to what is happening for yourself or for your child, and could kind of request, if not minimizing so much stimulation, perhaps being able to create own tables, or be aware of that kind of space. And there's absolutely no shame, and I bet the person might even feel grateful that you brought this to their awareness, so that they can have a chance to connect with your child in a more accessible way, that they're, the child maybe will have more of a chance to want to look into others' eyes if they don't have so much stimulation going on. And those were really good points. And I also wanted to talk about, Tirza, are you still on in there? Not sure if she's still here with us. It doesn't look like it.
She's
Okay.
still here.
Yes, I
Oh.
am. Yes, I am.
I'm just looking at the time, and I just wanted to, is there anything that you wanted to say before I continue on?
I guess only the one last thing that came to mind is that, as we're always talking about the one of the reasons being on spectrum is significant in this day and age is that we are realizing everyone is on the spectrum in some way or another. And so I want to say it's a real gift to us as well, who are considered neurotypical, that when we have a more sensitive child or person in our life, in those moments when they need a break, we might need one too. So it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
beautiful when our child is like, okay, they need a break, they need to go in a quiet space, they need to go in a different room. And then we can go with them for a few minutes, or maybe a relative who has a hard time connecting with that child in the group circumstance can go with them for a few minutes to just calm down. It can be such a gift to those of us who maybe think that we're handling things just fine, but we're actually overstimulated as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, it's a I often find just as being a mom, I get really overstimulated all the time. And I often have to take myself outside just to get a quick breath of fresh air and
Right.
feel through the five senses. And I've been kind of doing it with Mila, and I actually learned it when I was working with kiddos on the spectrum. But I do a five senses check, and I ask myself, and if Cornelia's with me, I'll do it with her too. You know, name one thing that you can see, name one thing that you can smell, name one thing that you can hear. You know, and for kids that are hearing too much, you want to maybe try to focus on the senses that you know aren't aren't overstimulated, right? So if they're hearing too much noise, you might want to, and or for yourself, if you're hearing too much noise and you can take yourself outside, you might want to focus on what you can see visually and what you can feel and what you can smell, rather than focus on the different noises, unless you have been able to get yourself to silence. And then that's good to focus on, like, oh, it's silent and I can hear myself breathing. Maybe I can hear a little bit of my heartbeat when it, so different things to just kind of slow us down.
I
And
love that. I love that. And the breathing, I think, is really big for our kiddos. So I know with Lakesh, like we would very much love to be, we loved to take 3 deep breaths together. And that was something he could handle better than even being asked how he was feeling or being asked things. He could just take 3 breaths, and it helped a lot.
thank you for bringing up the asking, because I think asking, like, hey, do you want to take a deep breath? No, I
Right.
don't. I'm not.
Right.
I feel, even if another adult asks me, oh, take a deep breath. No. But one thing that does is just telling, hey, Mila, we're going to blow out 4 candles right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's age, because then they'll feel really specialized. Let's practice blowing out your birthday candles real quick. Because to blow out a candle, what do you have to do? Take your biggest deep breath in. And if they're not buying it and they don't want to blow out the candles, you're like, that candle didn't blow out. It's still burning. You're going to need to get a bigger breath. So you could also even make the breathing fun, because you might know that a deep breath is what your child needs, or what a person needs, but maybe they aren't willing to go there. I know sometimes I'm not willing to go there myself with people, so that can be really helpful. And another preparation kind of thing too is trying to, we're, like I was saying, as adults, we're seasoned in the holiday season, whereas a lot of our kids, they're meeting Uncle John for the first time, and Grandpa Jack, who just flew in from Michigan, or who knows. There's a lot of new faces, a lot of new energies, a lot of new things. Maybe this is a house they've never been before. Maybe you're the one traveling, and all these new transitions, new ways to do things, new things to see. All of that in itself is a stimulation. So one of the ways you can also really prepare is to talk to your kids, and even if you have a kiddo who is pre-verbal and hasn't started speaking yet, they are most likely understanding you. So even just letting Sally know, hey, it's going to be a little bit different. This is who's going to be here. She looks like this. This person looks like this. Maybe share a little memory to create a little story for that kiddo. If there is going to be scheduled different things, maybe you can create a visual schedule if it's different than what's going to be happening for them on the usual to show them, first we're gonna drive to pick up the pie at the store, then we're gonna get the gas, and then we're gonna drive to Tia Ladette's house, okay? And at Tia's house, there's gonna be these different people, and we're gonna stay at Tia's house until we get to this hour on the clock. And maybe you show them a little clock and what that clock is gonna look like. Having different visual timers can be really helpful with for your leaving, when you're about to leave, or when your kids have hit that point, and they're wondering when they're going to get to go home and decompress. A lot of times at the end of the night, when our kiddos are feeling done in their bodies, but they're unaware of when they're going to get to, go home into their safe space. And this is all, subconscious. They aren't aware of this is what's taking place. That's when you'll start to see, kids' behaviors happening, where they start acting out, or really trying to regulate themselves is what they're trying to do. And one of the ways you can help them regulate before they start their own regulation tactics, can be giving them, maybe you get a little sand timer that you can flip and say, okay, when this has gone flipped 5 times, that's when we're going to be able to go home. Or maybe they have a lot of cool ones online, even if you don't, maybe you forgot your timer, and you are going to look at your phone. You have a lot of great phone app timers as well that give cool little jingles for kids. They have even ones where the timer is going down, 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 and when it gets to the end, it makes a little like visual picture. So timers can be really helpful. Visual schedules can be really helpful. I know for myself personally, I really struggle with transitions, even on my typical schedule. And I extremely struggle with transitions when I'm traveling or when they are new to me. And so one of the ways that I handle that the most is being able to write a list and just keep writing my lists, my schedule, like what it's going to look like for me. Obviously, a lot of kiddos aren't writing yet, or maybe can't read yet. So you can't give them a list so they know what to expect, or to really put order into what's about to come. So having those visuals can be really, really helpful. Is there any, I know that we're coming to time, I'm assuming pretty closely. So should I give any space for questions before I continue on, or should I keep on keeping on here?
Everything you're sharing is golden. I love everything you're sharing, and definitely, we'll ask a few questions, but we still have 20 more minutes, so you're good.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, and
so something that I wanted to share is there is a lot that we can do for the body while we are experiencing overstimulation. There's things we can do before we go that is going to prepare our body to handle and process the stimulation we're going into. And there's also things, different little movements that you can do during stimulation that can help your child to process the overstimulation. And so something I'd also like to say with this is I really encourage you to be silly with your kids, even if it's maybe a little embarrassing in front of the family. But your silliness will allow them to feel reconnected, which is kind of what happens when we get overstimulated, is we start to disconnect from our safe people. And so getting on your kids' level and being able to be silly with them will really help in their ability to start to be flexible with you. Reconnecting with them will really help them to remember you're on their team, and that you don't want to be putting them into anything they don't want to be, but that, maybe we have to get A, B, C, and D done, but that you're on their team. So being able to be silly with anything that you are doing will really help them. And toodaloo to your relatives if they can't understand your silliness. But maybe you'll make them laugh and they'll find out that they can be silly too. And so some of the things you can do, I'll share a few. I don't want to do it on the phone right here, right now, but there are some different movements that you can do different spins, even just having your kid be doing some different crawling activities, different tactile therapy type movements that you can do before you get into the car. Even just playing certain little games from the door to the car door. Hey, who can be the fastest bunny rabbit? And, you know, having a contest, who's the fastest Santa elf, but you have to jump with 2 feet to the car. And everybody jumps with 2 feet to the car. That in itself is getting certain energies and tactile support into your kids' feet. And as well opening their brain because they're feeling fun and connected to you. So there's different little silly things that you can do. You know, even just giving tactile support squeezes, really big different kinds of hugs. And maybe you have a big squeeze kind of compression thing that you do with your child before you get into the car to center their body before they get into that long drive. When you are in a stimulated place and are trying to release some of that energy and stimulation, if you can get into a little more open space and maybe do some jumping jacks with your kiddos, or have if you have the space down a hallway, who can do the most lunges from this end to that end, or, you know, depending on their physical capabilities, you know them best, but you can choose different movement things that will help their body find their center and reconnect to you when they're feeling overstimulated and maybe over bombarded with things. I don't know if there's a space for people to access information from this, but I have different links that I could send for people to learn all kinds of different body movements that help our children, or even ourselves. It doesn't have to be children, get back into our body. Although without your kid, you might seem a little bit more silly. You're just doing this in front of the family party, but you'll release some of the tension if there's any tension at your guys' Christmas or holiday gatherings. Yeah, so I'd say also one of the biggest things is making sure our kids have enough water in them. Hydration can be a really big key to our bodies being able to process overstimulation. And I know water can be kind of boring. So even if your kid has a usual water bottle, maybe for the holidays, you get them a special drink container that they get really excited about. Yes, whoever just wrote Cocoa Hydrate, I saw that. And that is, yeah, thank you, Dominic. That is where I'm going. Cocoa Hydrate is super awesome. That's Neela's favorite, and it feels like a huge blessing to me because she drinks water if I'm, you know, okay, drink water, and then you can have a cup of Cocoa Hydrate, and then you can have a cup of pineapple juice or whatever else that she's wanting. But we drink water. I have her drink water first. That's how I get it in her. But Cocoa Hydrate is magnificent because I'm getting water in her, and then the Cocoa Hydrate itself is serving her in even more hydration, and the flavor of it, kids really love it. We had a kiddo that was here for a little while, and she ate Cocoa Hydrate like it was what's that dipstick, like powdered sugar candy thing that we were kids, you take. Yeah, well, pixie sticks too, but there was like one that came in a packet and it had sugar stick, and you dip that, and then you eat the sugar stick at the end. My God. But so anyways, this little girl though would take a spoon and just was like eating Cocoa Hydrate like it was just her little yummy snack. So and another thing that we do too is I'll put frozen pineapple chunks in the Cocoa Hydrate for Cornelia, because that also, yes, Dippo stick, that's what it is. And I'll put frozen fruit in Cornelia's water or Cocoa Hydrate because that makes it more fun for her. We have some mason jars that have like these silicone wraps so she can actually kind of see the pineapple floating in there. And actually I was gonna, for a come again with the frozen fruit, is also a really good sensory reliever for our kiddos, as having some frozen fruit on hand, if you can keep it frozen. frozen blueberries, frozen pineapples, frozen mangoes, frozen strawberries. Really good to be able to bite on and suck on and yeah, have a sensory support through that. But the fruit is good for them. So I also recommend frozen fruit if you guys if your kids are into that. It's a really good sensory support as well to the cold and all the different things going on there for the mouth when you're able to get to use that. And oh, shaker cups are great for insulating frozen. I didn't know that. Thanks for that tip. Huh. Yeah. I'll be using that. Um, yes, I think that is a lot of what I wanted to cover. Yeah, in the
Did you
preparation
want to take
too,
some questions, Anna Marie?
yeah, I'm gonna say one last thing and then I'm gonna take some questions. And along the lines of what Tirza was talking about in preparation. Um, So a lot of times we have the tricky spot of where our kids want everything that's on the table and we don't want them to have what's on the table. um, because, you know, sometimes we're not at our family's gathering, but maybe we're at a school gathering or some sort of gathering that has a lot of options that our kid might want to eat up, and we do not want them to eat up. So part of that preparation I would recommend is there's a lot of fun things you can make with Purium products that are like holiday fun friendly. Even making, you know, green pancakes and cutting them into Christmas trees, making different little shapes of things and using our Purium powders within different foods. Um, it's a really good way to start to get them so they're already, they feel that they're in the festivity already and they have their specialized foods and they're going to want that, especially if you offered it and made it really fun before they even got there, and they're going to be filled up off of that and not want maybe the super sugary processed nasty cookies that somebody put on the buffet table. Yes, caramel apple fiber is a really good fun one to make things with. That's really good. Also, the cocoa mint spirulina is a really good fun like peppermint kind of flavor that you can create with. Um, and also I was just going to say, if you can, if your kids aren't maybe into your creative snacks with Purium shakes and stuff, sometimes Neela gives me the thumb down. There are, I encourage you to check out online. There are a lot of different organic, fun, festive kind of candies and stuff. And I encourage parents to let their kiddos know that you have or an organic candy cane for them waiting at home if you can, or an organic form of maybe that candy, or you bring it with you, even better, and do a quick trade or things like that. If you can make your own cookies at home and bring them along so that they don't have to be eating the super processed sugar cookies, and they can eat your homemade ones that maybe you slipped some Purium into. So that is what I have to share today on sensory support and how to best aid ourselves and our kiddos in our festivities. Is there any questions? I would love to take them and answer as I can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anne Marie. Such valuable information that you left us with today. Just so many golden nuggets. And one of them that stood out, I love blowing out the candles. I thought that was such a great one with the breath work, and one that I used to use with Myron that was taught to him when he was younger, when he'd get frustrated, was blowing on his hot cocoa and being able to hold his in front of him and blowing on his hot cocoa. And so I thought that was another, and so that's what it reminded me of when you talked about that. I was like, oh, that's a similar breathing technique of like having them do something that is fun for them and relating to them, and having them do the thing that you want to do, and just being so creative. And as parents, you know, there's no guidebook, and we have to be so creative and be silly with them and play with them and get on their level and speak their language and try to understand where they're coming from, because we really don't know what somebody else's experience unless we put ourselves in their shoes, right? So if anybody has questions, please raise your hand here virtually. And we'll be able to unmute you so you can ask your questions. And we also have Dave on the line. Dave Sandoval's here. So Dave, if you want to chime in as well. Thanks for
You
being
know, I
here.
just want to say that I really appreciate, Anna Marie coming on. We've been working with the Awaken Project, but because we've started a little family of our own, we haven't had as much time to focus on that. And so being able to each month be able to share and support this community really makes me feel good. I want to remind parents that we see you. Like, we know how tired you are. We know, how it feels to, you know, to wonder, what is everybody thinking? Is my child is loud or obnoxious? I just want to tell you, no, it's not that at all. They're not loud or obnoxious. They're being children, and children are children, and they express themselves in different ways. So if you're the parent of an autistic child, just know that, you know, that everything's going to be all right, that we're going to work together. We're going to find the tools. We're going to help your children regulate, and Purium is going to be an excellent tool to help in all of those ways. And the final thought I have is that positive, you know, positive words of affirmation can go a long, long way when a child is feeling, possibly shamed or by society, and just reminding them that they're beautiful, that they're amazing, that you love them. And yeah, and those are my only words that I want to share. I'd like to hear from Tirza and take some questions. Not for me, for the ladies.
Well, we have just a few more minutes. So Tirza, if you want to come on, and then we do have a gift for you all today, and I'd love to share it with you. So Tirza, are you available?
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
here. And I definitely want to hear the questions. So I'll just take one just quick moment to say I really appreciate what Dave just shared. I think that one of the best things that we can offer our kids and anyone really, but especially those who are marginalized, who aren't necessarily understood by the greater society, just to constantly be reaffirming their beautiful, unique selves, and that whatever they're going through is okay, and that we're there for them, and there's no room for shame, no room for shame. So thank you so much. So good to be here with everybody.
Absolutely. And I see Boo is
and
here.
Oh, sorry, go further. I just wanted to say I'm really excited about that hot cocoa expression because it's so perfect. And our Purium hot cocoa Epigenius works as a perfect hot cocoa. And I'm gonna get to that question, Boo. And upon those affirmations, if you're blowing out hot cocoa with your kid, one of the things you could be saying when I like blow it out and say, I am so loved. And then another deep breath, blowing on that hot cocoa. I am so safe. Another deep breath, blowing on that hot cocoa. I am perfect as I am me. You can add even those affirmations in with those breath work, with that super cute hot cocoa. Like, I'm so stoked to share that with Mila. And make it a really fun and just, yeah, thank you, Dave, and my beloved, and Tirza for bringing up the affirmations and reminding them how perfect and magical they are. Boo, it's all you.
I love that. I love leading from a place of love. And thank you so much. I work with marginalized kids often, and a lot of the tips that you gave are so beautiful. So I will be using them. Really, thank you for this community. But what I really wanted to share is the recipe that I just shared, these chocolate balls. I happen to have just made them. And what I implore you to do, I'm a raw food chef as well. I can be. I don't like to do it first and foremost, but I am for myself. Replace the nuts with carrots. It works just as well, and they're so sweet. So dates and carrots blended, and then you add in the powder as much as you want to dry it in. You need a food processor, but it will, as you add in more powder, it will get dry enough to pinch into balls, shape them, and then roll them in the epigenous.
Beautiful.
These are dusted with epigenous. They have the MPV chocolate, family chocolate in the middle, but so that you don't use the whole packet, I use cacao, but for kids, use carob, so that you're not adding that extra stimulant. But honestly, please replace your nuts with carrots. And if you do use nuts or seeds, soak them to remove the inhibitors. It makes them much more digestible. So I just wanted to give that little tip.
Yeah, soaking and fermenting, like sprouting and fermenting, is going to remove a lot of the phytic acid, and that's really important. And then also remember that dried plums, what we call dried plums, or what we call, I guess, prunes, but plums are probably the second most nutritious fruit after tart cherries on the planet. So they're even more potent than blueberries. So don't forget plums. Kids, autistic kids, and all kids love plums. They're like candy. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, we're going to go a couple minutes over the hour. We have one more question, and then we do have a gift for you all. So stay tuned if you can stay on. If you can't, we're going to drop it in Million Mom Movement Official on Facebook. That's where all the links that Anna Marie wants to share with you will be, and the replay. And so I'll go ahead and let Patty ask your question. Oh, go ahead and unmute yourself. Sorry.
Thank you. This is just an amazing call. I love this. I want to say that this is just when Mini Me was a peanut, my guidebook was a fellowship called Growing Kids God's Way. And in a collective and your child wants attention or whatever, an adult, and there's the moment when you think you forgot your name. That is a moment where you create a quiet code of when they need your attention and they see you connecting with an adult and engaged in a conversation and it's not appropriate to interrupt, they put their hand on your thigh. And then when you connect that, you squeeze their hand because they need to feel attended. And there's that collective peace. And that was such a game changer, because how many times are you chatting with an adult and they're like, you just can't. That solves a lot of problems. And the other one was, no matter what the age, but babies, when they're just needing something and you ask them to fold their hands, ask anybody, any age, to fold their hands. They don't know what's wrong with them. This is a calmer version of, they have to think about it first, but what method of meditation, no matter what your faith, does not, fold their hands? This is peaceful. So I encourage you to ask somebody to fold their hands and just do a social experiment and see how it goes. But those are just some tips for collecting with stimulating environments, and just an amazing call. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to have been here.
And even touching the bottom of your feet together at the same time. This is a way of creating like those connections that the regulatory thing. That's a beautiful, two great pieces of advice. I know Anna Marie's smiling right now, and a lot of the mamas appreciate you right now too.
Thank you. Appreciate all.
Thank you so much, Patty. Thank you so much, Boo, for hopping on. Thank you, Anna Marie and Tirza and Dave, for all coming on today and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. And I do have a few things to share with you all, so hang tight for just 1 minute. I created a little guide for you all to just help to support you and anybody that you know that is needing to support somebody on the spectrum. And so in this little guidebook, we have some really great options to just help support. And I'll be dropping this in Million Mom Movement Official as well. So give me just 1 second to pull it up on my screen here. All right, so we have the Autism Nutrition Guide. This is for busy caregivers to get the nutrients in easily. So this is for caregivers and the ones you're caring for. And we'll go ahead and drop the link in Million Mom Movement Official. So make sure you're in there. Make sure that the people that you're sharing with are in there, so that way you can have access to this. This is what is in here. We have some great resources in here. There's some great recommendations of the Purium products that could best support people on the spectrum, as well as some suggested daily plan. So this is a really great tool for you, and I hope that you'll use it. It was a lot of fun to create, and definitely will be a living document. So we're going to continue to add, if there's things that you can think of that need to get added to that document, please feel free to let me know, as we do want to just keep creating really valuable resources. So before we leave here, last but not least, we want to invite anybody who is here who is a guest. Please reach back out to the person who invited you here. They invited you here because they really care about you, and they want you to have access to the best community and support and nutrition that is available for your family. And so we want to invite you to be a part of our community too, and like, follow, and share our community with your friends as well. And so you can like our Facebook page at Million Mom Movement. You can go ahead and join our community on our Facebook group, Million Mom Movement Official. And that's where we'll be sharing all of these links and resources. So if you want to have access to all of the resources we've created, please join that group on Facebook. You can also follow us on Instagram, tag us on your stories, tag us on your posts. We have some great hashtags you can use here. Hashtag the Million Mom Movement, and just tag the Million Mom Movement is really the easiest. And really come be a part of our community. Go watch, look at the page, share the posts that are on that page with your community, and inspire others. That's what we're here to do, right? So, and then last but not least, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll have access to nearly 300 replays of over the past years of us sharing every single Friday on these different subjects of supporting families with health, nutrition, and economic empowerment. So we'd love to invite you to join us next Friday on, let's see, it'll be December 27th, and we're going to be talking about how to go into the new year and promote Thrive in 2025. So we hope you'll join us for that special presentation to help you launch your own group transformation in the new year. We're going to have some support and resources, and Michelle Ricci and Mary Beth Fleming will be taking over that call and leading for us. So I'm so excited to have you all there with our special guests. And thank you so much for joining us. Until next week, thank you everyone for joining.
Have a blessed week until next week. Enjoy the holidays as you celebrate them. And we'll so excited to have a 2025 that's going to be amazing. New reemergence, I believe, a rebirth of the Million Mom Movement. Thank you, Naiva, for your great leadership over the past year. We could not have done this without you.
Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you, everyone.